Hey everybody, it's Sifu Z and welcome. This is Wing Chun 101 2020. I'm just calling it that today. Last time we spoke, I was talking about isometric, isokinetic, isodynamic exercise. Now, we don't have to get too caught up in the terminology. Essentially, what we're talking about is compressing, right? Tensing the muscles of the body. Now, before I go into it, because we're going to go right into it today, on YouTube, you could do a search for the 5 levels of understanding music theory. Now, this could be applied to trying to understand anything. There's levels of understanding something. The first level being maybe a level that you would teach a child, and then a level that you would teach a teenager, and then a level that you would teach someone in college, and a level, let's say the mastery level. Now that's 5 levels or so. The amount isn't important. It could be 3, it could be 10. It's just an increment of measure. I'm going to take you, of course, into the first level of understanding the most important aspect of Wing Chun, which is the stance. The stance is where we begin everything. The stance is where we derive that tension, that isometric, isodynamic tension that we're talking about. So let me show you the first level of understanding. Now, if you think you might know, for instance, you've trained with me for years now, I would say most of you understand it on a first or second level basis. There's much deeper levels of understanding this concept, but the first level is the most important, because this is the foundation in which we get acquainted with this concept of getting strong by way of stance. So let's get right to it. Now, I apologize for the traffic noise, but this is the best location and the best lighting that I could find for us. All right, now when we start our Siu Nim Tao, and by the way, the Siu Nim Tao could very well be called Wing Chun, or Wing Chun could very well be called Siu Nim Tao. It's that important. Grandmaster Chris Chan, who learned directly with Ip Man alongside of Bruce Lee, he said it best, that the Siu Nim Tao is the single most important aspect of the Wing Chun system. You could become a Wing Chun master by mastering Siu Nim Tao alone. Okay, so let's get to work on the stance. When we first start all of the forms, all 3 of the forms, we always start with the stance. Now, the stance in Chinese is called Kim Yee Ma, which means goat grasping or sheep grasping stance. I'm going to call it goat. I like goats better than sheep. So I'm going to call it the goat grasping stance. Imagine that you're trying to hold a goat, or maybe a dog, right? You're trying to hold a dog in between your legs while you're washing it. I think that's probably the best visual here. Okay. We start with our feet together, and we take 3 breaths. 2 breaths into the nose, out through the mouth, and then the 3rd breath is all in and out through the nose. We don't breathe through the mouth. There's reasons for this, but that's not level 1 understanding. Level 1 understanding is this. We have our feet together, hands to the side, and we breathe in, out. Second breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. And now the third breath all through the nose. As we take in that third breath, as if we're lifting up 2 weights to our side, and we bend the knees. And we throw the weights out in front of us. And now here it goes. Heel, toe, heel. Did you get that? If not, I want to make sure you really get this. So let's do it again. We're not going to mess with the breath just yet. I just wanted to introduce that to you. But let's really get the stance down. So the stance starts with your feet together, and your first open up the heels, open up the toes, and the heels one more time. There are other ways to get to this, but this is the way it was taught to me by Chris Chan. So now, your stance should look something like this. Your knees are pressing inwards as if you're holding a goat or a dog, right? You're holding, squeezing the knees together. You're grasping the ground with your toes, not too much, not too little, just very firmly grasping the ground, keeping that tension, that compression with the knees, squeezing inwards. Now some people are really able to just squeeze them all the way in. I've seen that. Some have a very hard time squeezing it in. You don't want to overdo it. It's just a very subtle bending of the knees and then squeezing them in as if you're holding, like maybe a ball. A lot of times I'll use a small ball in between the knees just to sort of help aid that feeling of squeezing with the knees. Now, while we do our forms, which we'll be doing later, this is the stance that we maintain. We maintain that compression. We maintain the pressure of the knees going inward, grabbing the ground with the toes. Now, let me show you from the side. Heel, toe, heel. Here's the side stance. You don't want your butt sticking out, and you don't want your pelvis tilted all the way forward either. Just nice and in between. You're squeezing with your glutes, not too hard, but just a nice firm squeezing of the glutes, squeezing the knees together. Now, for some people, I have taught just this, and I've heard some wonderful reports about how strong people have been able to get just with this Kim Yee Ma alone. This tension with the legs and the knees squeezing together. Now, this is something that could be done just while you're standing in line, while you're doing the dishes, or while you're washing your dog, right? So this is something that can be done anywhere, anytime. And in fact, I've even been bedridden and have used this concept of just sort of getting this structure while laying down and squeezing. Now this is the starting point. We draw, the visualization here is we draw all the power from the ground and we bring it up. The visualization, right? So again, let's go through this one more time. The feet together, get the breath in, exhale, inhale, exhale, and now all the breathing through the nose. heel, toe, and heel. Now if you want to check your structure, an easy way to do that is by looking down at your knees. Your knees should cover your toes. So when you look down, you should be able to see your toes. It's a good rule of thumb. Now, again, you don't have to really put a lot of pressure into it because the structure itself and gravity is giving you a nice amount of tension to start with. Now eventually you can bring more tension to the structure, but at first it's best just to let the structure itself and gravity to do all the work. And again, once you get used to this, at first it might even hurt your knees, but chances are, great chances are, it's not going to hurt you. It just takes a little getting used to bending the knees and squeezing them in. How often have you done this? You can do this all throughout the day and get the benefit from Kim Yee Ma, from this tension that you create with your legs. You got some really large muscle groups that you're activating in the legs. And this is sort of influences the rest of the muscle group, the rest of the body. I've been standing in this structure as we speak. It's once you get used to it, sometimes it just takes a day or two. It's something that you'll be able to do automatically whenever you're standing. Now how great is that? To just be able to exercise by way of standing and to get strong just by standing here. All right, if you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments. You can also go to the Patreon account. These lessons are for anyone that is interested in learning Wing Chun. If you can, if you're able to, feel free to donate any amount of money to paypal.me/Sifu Z. You could also join us on a regular basis on Patreon. But if you don't have the money, you know, times are tough right now. Don't worry about it. Don't let that affect your training or not training. Just do it. Okay. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you the next video.